Does Israel finally have northern Gaza surrounded? And are U.S. aircraft in the airspace over Gaza? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's November 3rd, 2023. This is your daily unbiased Israel Hamas update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, I want to take a look at kind of the overall news map, and the biggest takeaway I want you guys to have from this is that the northern and southern Gaza are cut off from each other. This is, of course, part of the Israeli plan. As of 10 hours ago, they completed reaching the sea, cutting off all of these north-south routes, which means that unless you want to go through these Israeli checkpoints, or more likely a blockade, everyone inside northern Gaza is probably going to be considered a target. You can see Israeli forces also linking up their two breaches in the north here, and while they're making some progress into Beit Hanun, they've largely tried to stay away from urban areas, right? We've seen a lot of video of armored forces, tanks, and the like, conducting these operations in pretty much open terrain, and that's more or less the easy part of the phase, right? We've seen, if you've been on the premium site Combat Vet News, you know that the video yesterday, we actually watched a GoPro of Hamas fighters engaging Israeli tanks, but you saw how when they were in the open terrain, they had to engage from way further out. The likelihood of achieving a successful hit was way lower. When the terrain became denser, the tanks became less effective, almost liabilities. Israel, of course, saying that it is ready for its military operation, quote, across all fronts. But there's more significant news here. And as you can see, the Israeli airstrikes continuing to just grind on northern Gaza in particular, much less so, almost no news at all in southern Gaza. But there's two interesting notes here that I think are really important. And this is according to at least the New York Times is reporting that the U.S. military is flying surveillance drones over Gaza. The DoD says the drones are used to aid in hostage recovery efforts, indicating that the U.S. is more involved than previously known. Let's see if we can find, here is this map here, courtesy of, let's see if, thanks, New York Times. This is the approximate flight path of U.S. drones over the Gaza Strip. So what you can see here is that it looks like the drones are carrier launched, right? We know there's carrier strike groups off the Mediterranean, and they are flying almost exclusively in and around southern Gaza, which is fascinating. First, they're doing these wide loops. Then they have a series of very tight circles in southern Gaza. But you can see that Gaza City itself, almost untouched by U.S. drones. And this is maybe a function of what's called deconfliction of airspace. And that's because Gaza City is just absolutely packed with Israeli jets, and the Israelis probably, I imagine, aren't sharing a lot of information about their flights, but we can see how these maps are almost mutually exclusive, right? The Israelis almost entirely leaving this airspace clear for the United States, whereas the United States is leaving Gaza City basically open for the Israelis. Now, is this part of a real effort by the U.S.? Is it about hostage recovery? I sort of believe them. I sort of believe them. Here's the thing, guys. Hostage recovery is an objective within this entire military operation by Israel. So to sit there and say, oh, the U.S. is only focusing on hostage recovery, that's like saying that you're having your that's like saying that you're only focused on providing rounds to the Israelis. You're like, well, that's still support. It's just you have your role in the mission. So that sort of stuff I have a pretty healthy level of skepticism of. And I don't love the fact that U.S. aircraft are overhead, though we've certainly sent aircraft over lots of sovereign countries, and we're doing so basically with the permission of the Israelis. But the danger, of course, is that there's more that the U.S. hasn't told us. And that's my worry in this, is that if elected officials can't even tell us what exactly is our level of involvement in this conflict, where, you know, we have no real stake either way, how can U.S. voters make decisions on a lot of these policies? There's a ton, of course, of footage that's come out of this fighting here, and it's not clear how much of it I can show you. Sorry. Even I'm trying to find even these stills are going to get me demonetized, and there's a lot of stills of the fighting. So anyway, all I'll say is this: if you're interested, combatvetnews.com, that's my site. You're going to want to check it out, right? And that's where I have all this like premium content. That's where I have all the combat footage. It's also the best way to support the channel. Anyway, guys, that's really all I have. I wish I had more news, but I have as many questions as you do about what U.S. drones are doing overhead. Thanks so much, as always, for being supporters. I appreciate you. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.